afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariam Talisik. I am the last reporter of Module 14. My topic is all about what challenges confront the Bangsamoro peace process. So, before that, no, we answer first here the question. Um, the Bangsamoro process faces challenges such as delays in implementing the Bangsamoro Organic Law, slow decommissioning of combatants, violence from extremist groups, governance and capacity building issues, persistent poverty, underdevelopment, mistrust among stakeholders, and external threats like global extension and natural disasters. Well, the current negotiation between the government and the MILF has been moving forward. It is not without obstacle true enough. The fact that the GPH MILF peace process has been with us for 17 years is enough evidence to show how these obstacles played hard and still affecting the process. The statement by the chair of the MILF negotiating panel, Muhagnar Iqbal, impresses upon us the difficulty of finding a successful conclusion to the peace process when he said, Shakay, the road ahead is not paved. It is still full of twists and turns. These are dangers practically lurking everywhere. Uh, the statement reflects the challenges and complexities of achieving the lasting between peace, the government of the Philippines, or GPH, and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, MILF. The peace process ongoing for 17 years has faced numerous obstacles. It is highlighted the deep-root nature of the conflict and the difficulties in addressing the interests and concerns of all stakeholders involved. So, the statement highlighted here the difficult and uncertain nature of the peace process. The unpaved road symbolized the lack of clear or smooth path, while the twists and turns it represent unexpected challenges and complexities. The danger lurking everywhere emphasize the risk and potential setbacks, such as mistrust, resistance, or conflict. Underscores the need for patience, vigilance, and determination to overcome these obstacles and move toward lasting peace. As noted earlier, the peace process does not only involve top-level political negotiation. When we say top-level political, it means refer to the use of high-ranking political authority. Those are the high-ranking political authority, leadership, and decision-making to addresses critical issues. But more importantly, a social transformation that will deal with a deep root preju- prejudice, distrust, and resistance of Christian Filipino majority who often regard any process with the morals as wrong, immoral, and unwise. For instance, when the 1996 final peace agreement between the Philippine government and the MNLF stipulated, among others, that some 7,500 MNLF combatants would integrate into armed forces that the integrated into the armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police. M- Many Christians Filipinos fear that the integration of the MNLF combatants will not only downgrade the standards of the two governance agencies but also endanger them by giving the rebels access to more powerful weapons and highly classified trainings. Many thought that the rebels would simply desert with their newly acquired weapons and skills to better fight the government. More recently, the chair of the GPH Peace Panel and the presidential advisor on the peace process were tagged by those who oppose the peace negotiations as traitors because they see them lawyering and defending the MILF after the Mama Sapano incident. So, this statement refers to the criticism and challenges faced by the key figures now involved in the peace process following by the controvers- controversial Mama Sapano incident, where clashes that lead to significant casualties. The chair of the GPH Peace Panel and the presidential advisor on the peace process were perceived as sliding with or justifying the Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF rather than fully condemning their alleged role in the incident. It must be mentioned that the misencounter in the small town of Mama Sapano has nothing to do with the proposed Bangsamoro basic law, but it is now treated as a scrap because of the incident. Worse, not a few Christian Filipinos believe that the creation of a truly autonomous government of the Bangsamoro people would only lead to Muslims oppressing Christians, to more corruptions and underdevelopment, to exposing more conflicts and wars, to grave abuse of power of by moral leaders, to dispose Christians by their lands and expel them out from Mindanao, blended by their bias and poor grasp of the Bangsamoro question, many Filipinos fail to realize that the ensuring success of the peace process is everybody's responsibility. Because of its success, the entire country will certainly benefit. Unfortunately, instead of helping the peace process, many seem to be apathic if not working against it, making every step difficult and countering every little gain of peace talks. It can be assumed that Christians' bias against Muslim and apathy of other Filipinos on the Mindanao problem could be attributed to lack of information and misinformation of stakeholders on the peace process itself. According to the special report of the United States Institute of Peace 2003, even the Moro people complained that they were only aware of the ongoing peace talks between the government and MILF, but many of them did not know the details of the negotiations. Amidst constitutionally of some of the previous stipulated in the proposed basic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, a pervading question and perhaps the most contentious is the annex and wealth sharing. In her committee report on the BBL, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago said that these are against the Regalian Doctrine, which is enshrined as one of the core charter principle in the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Section 2, Article 12 of the Constitution incorporates this doctrine and states that na siya nga, all lands of the public domain, waters, minerals, coal, petroleum, and other mineral oils, all sources of potential energy, fisheries, forests, and timber, wildlife, flora and fauna and other natural resources are owned by the states. By the way, what is Regalian doctrine mean? Regalian doctrine, known as the doctrine of the state ownership, is a legal principle in the Philippines stating that all natural resources, including the land and mineral wealth, are owned by the state unless proven otherwise. He rooted in the Spanish colonial legal system and is enshrined in Article 12, Section 2 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution na as long as nga naa sila'y prueba nga ipakita, makuha nila ang tanang mga natural resources including sa land and the mineral. It must be mentioned that in both the CAB CAB, it means Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro, and the proposed House Bill 4994, the GPH, MILF peace panels, and the BTC invocations the Bangsamoro to have control and powers over inland waters, including those that feed the hydroelectric plants in Lanao. Strategic minerals such as uranium, petroleum, and natural gases, Bangsamoro waters, and etc. According to the Republic of the Philippines, the chief negotiator of the MILF, Ikbar, however, stressed that the Regalian Doctrine is the reason why we lost our lands in Mindanao because our lands are controlled by the state, no? Because of the Regalian Doctrine, we lost our lands in Mindanao. They controlled by the states. The conflict in Mindanao has strong roots in the quest to over the natural resources, especially land, but also mining, timber, oil, gas, and fishing resources. In the end, the major challenge is how to find a compromise that will respect the Regalian Doctrine and at the same time the right of the Moro for self-determination. Aside from the constitutional issues, there are also fear and imminent sprouting of a new armed group because of the functionalism within the ranks of both the MNLF and the MILF has historically. It must be remembered that while the MILF negotiations with the national government seems to be in the piece of success in the past, some of some of its members who favored the armed struggle for independence defected and formed the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters that has been recently involved in skirmishes with the military. This is also the perception that other militant groups such as the Normi Normi Sauri lead faction of the MNLF were excluded in the peace talks, adding the fear to the creation of a more function or breakaway groups. Now, the system of check and balance in the Philippine government also poses difficulties in fast tracking the peace process. Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago pointed this out when she said the MILF was only taking to the executive branch where OPAP and the GPH panel are under. This was also the point illustrated by the violence that erupted in 2008. To the MILF, they felt being foiled by the government because after convincing the government panel that they had a good case, still they needed to negotiate with people from the legislative and the judicial branches. To them, it was absorbed to run another negotiations with the other branches of the government. After all, the government panel was supposed to be representing the Philippine government because some of the MILF commanders perceived this to be a proof of government insincerity and falling around. They launched violent attacks in North Cotabato and Lanao del Norte in 2008. The presence of armed groups and spoilers wanting to maintain the status quo warrants attention considering the halubalu initiated by them in the past. For example, there were those who took advantage on the unpopularity of the BBL after the poach operation of the Special Action Force, SAF, in Mama Sapano, in January 25, 2015, the Mama Sapano encountered the BBL propaganda runs the possibility of being used as a campaign strategy of politicians to amass votes for election in 2016. Certainly not the bias reportage by the media make or unmake the BBL, and the peace process, considered by some of us as the fourth branch of the government because of its wide influence over the general public, media reporting as crucial factor influencing the fate of the BBL cannot be undermined. In fact, the irresponsible media reportage is believed to have contributed largely to the war drum beating against the MILF after the Mama Sapano incident. What are the safeguard feature of the current GPH MILF peace process? The chair of the MILF peace panel, Muhagnar Iqbal, lists down the four safety needs in the current negotiation. This includes we have the four safety current negotiation na giles ni Muhagnar Iqbal. First, in the past, in the past, both the GRP and the MNF peace panels who could have ensured the implementation on the agreed points were disbanded after the signing the 1996 final peace agreements. There was no effective monitoring system to rely on. In the current peace process, however, the two negotiating panels will not be disbanded and will continue to engage each other until a final exit agreement will be signed. After all the agreements have been fully implemented, this will assure that the two peace panels will be around to monitor the progress and implementation what has been agreed in the CAB. No. The statement highlights a key difference between the past and the current peace process involving the government of the Republic of the Philippines, GRP, and the Moro National Liberation Front, MNLF, as well as the Moro Islamic Liberation Front (MILF). During the 1996 final peace agreement with the MNLF, the disbandment of the peace panels after the agreement left a gap in monitoring and ensuring the implementation of the agreed points. This lack of an effective monitoring system led to challenges in achieving the agreement intended outcomes. Second, there is the commitment of the two negotiating panels that no party shall unilaterally implement any of the signed agreements. In the past. There have been unilateral decisions by the government that eroded the trust and confidence of the Moro France. For example, the Marcos administration, without the consent of the MILF, issued Presidential Proclamation number 1628 to create an autonomous region in March of 1977 and later established Region 9 and 12 as autonomous region in July 1979. History tells us that this push pushed the MNLF to resume its armed conflict with the government. Ano pa siya, no? Mayroong pangako mula sa dalawang negotiating panels na walang sinuman sa mga partido ang magsasagawa ng isang panig na pagpapatupad ng alinmang na kasunduan noong nakaraan. May mga desisyong isinagawa ang gobyerno na nag-iisa na nagdulot ng pagkasira sa tiwala at kumpiyansa ng Moro friends. 3. The participation or contribution of the international community, both states and international non-governmental organization or NGOs, particularly the International Contact Group, ICG, the International Monitoring Team, IMT, and the Third Party Monitoring Team, TPMT, cannot be undermined in their effort to help stabilize the peace process Suffice to say, these groups whose mandate includes reviewing, assessing, and evaluating the implementation of all agreements and the key area in the agreement. Ah, ano siya nga, ang paglahok o kontribusyon ng international na komunidad kabilang ang mga estado at mga international na non-governmental na organization, particular ang International Contact Group, ICG, ang International Monitoring Team, IMT, at ang Party Monitoring Team, TPMT, ay hindi maaring maliitin sa kanilang pagsusumikap na tumutulong sa pagpa-stabilize ng proseso ng kapayapaan. Maaring sabihing ang mga grupong ito na may mandato sa naisuri, tasahin at suriin ang pagpapatupad ng lahat na kasunduan sa mga pangunahing bahagi ng kasunduan. Last, we have 4. In addition of the ICG and IMT, a Joint Normalization Commission, GNC, composed of the GPH and MILF Peace Negotiating Panels, the Malaysian Facilitator, and the TPMT was created as part of the peace architecture to assist, review, and evaluate the implementation of activities stipulated in the Annex on Normalization. Siya bilang karagdagan sa ICG and at IMT, isang Joint Normalization Commission, GNC, na binubuo ng mga peace negotiating panels ng GPH at MILF, ang Malaysian Facilitator at ang TPMT ay nilikha bilang bahagi ng architecture kapayapaan kapayapaan upang suriin, tasahin at suriin ang pagpapatupad ng mga activities na nakasaad sa Annex on Normalizations. Okay, so yun lang po ang aking topic. Thank you for listening.